Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Foundry. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Marie Davis, and I'm the head of Google Marketing Solutions for Ireland. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you all here today to talk and to discuss and to have a bit of an in-depth conversation about a topic that's very close to my heart, and I'm sure it's very close to all of your hearts as well, audience. Before we start, just a couple of housekeeping things. We will leave 10 minutes at the end for questions, and if any of you are putting anything on any forms of social media like Google+, please use the hashtag, or Twitter, or some of the other ones as well. Please use the hashtag, it's GoogleBB, hashtag GoogleBB. And I know a couple of you were asking because I took a few photographs. I'll put those photographs up there as well for you. But without any more delays, I want to introduce you to someone that we're very, very lucky to have today, Robin. Robin works on our Performance X team, which is it's an amazing, elusive title. What does it mean? Well, what it means is that he works with some of our largest, most complex advertisers, both in Ireland and in other markets as well. But more importantly for today, he's an audience specialist, and he's actually one of the most sought after audience specialists that we have within Google. So I'm really excited to hear what he's going to tell us all about who are the audiences we should be targeting and how we're going to go about targeting them. So welcome, Robin.
Morning, everyone. Very, very happy to be here this morning. Absolutely delighted to be speaking to you about audience. One of my favorite topics. When you were walking to the office today, did anyone notice the new Google branding we have on the building? It's pretty cool. I like it. No, that's completely fake. That's not real. That's a Photoshop I did earlier. So today I'm going to be talking to you about why we even think about audience, why we target audience, why we use audience. We're going to take a look at what Google's Audience Suite offers, what products are available, what tools you guys can use. We're also going to do a product demo. I think it's really important not just to talk about the theory, not just to look at screenshots and nice graphs, but also get into AdWords, see where everything is, so you guys can go back to your office, go back to work, and really begin using audience straight away. And then finally, we're going to take a look at campaign structure and bidding. Once you know how everything works, once you know where everything is, you want to create your campaigns, and you want to know how to create them correctly. And you also want to know how to use automation and how to use bidding. At the end, we'll have a 10-minute Q&A session. So if you have any questions about the presentation today, or if you have any questions about audience, please fire away. So, why audience? Well, I think the best way to describe why audience is so important is to look at a real-life scenario. And for that scenario, I've actually chosen myself. So, you can see here, I'm looking pretty serious. I've got my phone right up to my face. That's because I've turned to my phone at a critical moment. I'm asking Google about gifts for my mum for her birthday. I've just realized it's her birthday next week. I have no idea what to get her. This is a great example of where audience comes into its own. I've searched for a really generic search term. It could produce any results. But if the advertiser has their head screwed on, if they're thinking about audience, they should be able to come top of the pile and grab my attention. So how can you help me with this? Some great examples could be House of Fraser. I shopped with them last year, so I might have an interest with them. Maybe Ticketmaster. I have an account with Ticketmaster. I buy event tickets with them every so often. Maybe I could buy an event ticket for my mum. Or else maybe it's the local flower shop. They know that people who search for this search term have a really high chance of converting. So maybe they'll come out on top and win my conversion. So this is where audience really comes into its own. You're able to target your most valuable customers with an ad that's just right for them in that moment. And also, this helps your bottom line. It really improves your ROI if you use audience. Oh, and by the way, I actually went for the flowers. It was a local flower shop that came out on top. And the reason for that is they knew what they were doing. They knew the audience that they were trying to reach. And I also think that audience is a really fantastic leveler. For small businesses like this one, you can beat the big guys like Ticketmaster and House of Fraser and really win conversions, win new customers, and win back your old customers. So here's some figures about audience. 96% of users leave a website without converting. 70% of users abandon shopping carts without purchasing. And 49% of users typically visit 2 to 4 websites before purchasing. They're shopping around. Initially, these figures, when I first saw them, I was a bit shocked. But actually, the more I thought about my own user behavior, and I'm sure all your user behavior, the more this is actually quite normal. How often do you go straight to a website and purchase? Not very often. Maybe when I'm buying train tickets. And actually, when I see the price of the train tickets, I usually leave and come back again later. 70% of people are abandoning shopping carts. So you have them. They're up at the counter. They have the product on the counter. They're thinking about opening their wallet, and they're leaving. And of course, everyone shops around. It's totally obvious. But I actually think that this is a fantastic opportunity. These numbers are an opportunity for you as an advertiser. And the reason for that is that there's so much information out there. And Google gives you really fantastic ways to gather all that information and win that conversion when you come back and get that second chance. So no matter whether you're interested in people who are about to book a trip, or beauty lovers, or fitness fanatics, there's an audience out there for you, and Google gives you the right way to connect with that audience. So all of the different audience types can be linked into 3 types of data. First of all is your website data. Secondly is Google's data, which Google offers you for free. And finally is your business data. So if you have a CRM or if you're really strong on email marketing, for example, Google gives you really great options to connect with users this way. So to go a little deeper on each of these, we have first, as I mentioned, your website data. So this realistically is remarketing lists or remarketing. Most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the term remarketing. In search, it's referred to as RLSA. And really, this is the core audience product that Google offers. Many of the audience products around remarketing require you to set up marketing correctly in order to work well. And that's why I'm going to go a little deeper specifically on remarketing later on in the presentation. So as I mentioned, people who are familiar with your brand, familiar with your products, are 20%, at a minimum, 20% more likely to convert. So that's where remarketing's power comes from. The second type, as I mentioned, is Google data. And one of the main ones here, and one of my favorite products, is similar audiences. It's a fantastic way to reach new users and really expand your reach beyond those users who have been to your website already. And also, these users are really, really high value. So the way it works on search is that someone searches Google for hotels in Galway, for example. You're a hotelier. They visit your website, they browse around, they may go to the cart page and not convert, but they've been to your website, so you can collect them in a user list. So you create that user list of people who have been to your website, and then Google will automatically generate a similar audience list. And this similar audience list will contain users who have searched for similar search terms in the last 24 hours. So they're going to Google search, they're showing really, really strong intent, unbelievably strong intent. And Google can compile those users, look at your original remarketing list, and automatically generate that similar audience list. And I often find that the similar audience list can be several times larger than your original remarketing list. And the reason for that is because these are people all over Ireland, all over Europe, looking for hotels in Galway. So you can imagine the vast majority of those users haven't been to your website. So it's a fantastic way to reach new users that are super, super high value. There's also similar audiences for display, But because we don't have that search intent, what Google actually looks at is their browsing behavior. So also we have the second type of Google data we have is in-market audiences. Now this is in really late stage beta for search, so it should be released in the next month or two. And I think it's going to be another game changer for search to really reach new audiences that are on just about to convert. So what our AdWords algorithms are looking for here is really strong intent. It's not just interest. So imagine I'm buying car insurance next month. Okay, I'm going to go to 5 or 6 different insurance companies and maybe get quotes, read some articles on a blog, might read a news posting. That kind of behavior shows real intent. If I just visit Ford.com, for example, or Aviva, just one website like that, I mean, that shows interest. Okay, fair enough. We have tools for that. But in-market audiences is those users that are on the cusp of advertising. So you are on the cusp of converting. So you could really connect with those customers and maybe even nab 1 or 2 customers from your competitors at the last moment. There's also in-market search for display, and it's been around for a number of years, and it works in a very, very similar manner. So keep an eye out for that next month. Next, we have your business data. So this is relatively new, came along in the last year or so, and this is great for reaching your existing customers. So it's 2 things: linking offline customer interactions with online behavior, and also you're able to reach users across all devices. So normally the way remarketing works is that someone visits your website, okay? The tag fires, the cookie is installed in their browser, and you're able to retarget them later. But if they visited on desktop, you can only target them on desktop. If they visit on mobile, they can only be retargeted on mobile. The great thing about customer match is that it doesn't matter what device they're using. As long as they're logged into Google, you can retarget them on search, YouTube, and Gmail. Also, another example about customer match. It's a really fantastic way to have consistent marketing across all your advertising media. So let's say, for example, you have a monthly newsletter, a really basic example. You have a monthly newsletter, you're emailing it out to a couple thousand customers, and you want to have consistent messaging across all your media, all your devices. You can upload those customer emails to Customer Match, create a list, and have that consistent advertising later. Maybe they'll search Google later for a product you offer and go to a competitor. You don't want that. You want to make sure that they're coming back to your website and converting. So to summarize, a complete audience suite should involve elements of all the 3 types of Google data, especially in search. You should absolutely have an AdWords or GA remarketing list in there. You should certainly be using similar audiences. And when you see the size of the similar audience lists that Google offers you, and once you start using them, you'll see the real power of similar audience lists. In-market is also an option, as I mentioned, and of course, customer match to really get that consistent messaging across devices. So as I mentioned, we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive on remarketing, our core offering. So for those of you who don't know exactly how it works, I'm going to tell you how it works. So let's go back to the House of Fraser example. Next year, I have an idea that I'm going to buy a handbag for my mum, okay? My budget's expanded a little bit. I'm going to spend €170 on her. I'm ridiculously generous. So how it works is that your webmaster, your developer, installs a little snippet of JavaScript code on every single page of your website, okay? Once the user visits that page, that little piece of JavaScript code fires and installs what's called a cookie in that browser. Okay, so they're browsing Google Chrome or browsing on Firefox, the cookie's installed on that browser. Then House of Fraser goes to their AdWords page, and they're able to see all the users that they have and basically filter them, segment them by using rules and creating lists. Okay, so you can say, this looks like a product page. So they say, I want to collect everyone who's visited my product page. Similarly, they could do it for the cart page, conversion page. They could have all all users in one list if they want. Then you're able to retarget them on the Google Display Network and in search. And you'll see that not only are they seeing that specific handbag, they're also getting a few more options. So again, you're increasing the options for the user and increasing the likelihood of converting. The other thing is, have you got remarketing installed already? Is it actually working? I don't know. Well, we actually have great ways to find out. The first way to find out is by using Tag Assistant by Google. Okay, this is a Chrome extension, really, really useful and really easy to install, really easy to use. It will give you a breakdown of all the remarketing tags, so whether they're GA tags or whether they're AdWords tags. It will give you a breakdown of all those tags in an instant. It will tell you if they're working or not. The key is if you see a lot of red, there's an issue. The other option is Ghostery. So I actually have both of these in my Chrome browser because it's great to just check both of them. And also, the great thing about Ghostery is that you can check all your tags, not just Google tags. So if you've got Facebook tags, Amazon, anything else, you're able to use Ghostery to check it out. So I often check my clients' web pages just to see if they're using Facebook. So it's time for a demo. I mentioned that we're going to run through my AdWords account, my own personal AdWords account, so don't laugh at some of the campaign names. And I'm going to show you where everything is, how to find everything, and just spend a few minutes explaining how it works. So for this instance, I've set up a fake company called Happy Hounds. And what they do is they do doggy daycare, okay? Don't ask me where I got that idea, but I needed to test something. So anyway, so where you can find, so first of all, in order to see your lists, you need to go to your campaign, obviously, okay? So once you click your campaign, you can see all your ad groups in here. I'm sure everyone's familiar with this. If you see the campaign type, it's a search network only, all features campaign type. And audience will only become available if you have the all features campaign type. So you'll see, scroll along the tabs, and you have audiences right here. So click audiences, and at the moment, I have absolutely nothing in there. So how do I go about tagging my website and adding audiences, creating lists and adding audiences to this list, or to this ad group? Well, you scroll over to search library, or scroll over to shared library, and over here you'll see what we call the remarketing widget. Okay, so it gives you a quick bit of info on whether your tag is working, if there's any issues. And in this case, I don't have it actually installed on any website, so you'll see, again, some red there as well. To look at your actual tag, just out of interest, you can go to click tag details and setup, and your tag is in here. So there's that little bit of code I was talking about. And you don't need to know any coding, anything like that. You just need to copy this and paste it on the bottom of every single page of your website, so AdWords can track where your users are actually on your website. The other thing is, if you want to send yourself or send your developer instructions and the tag, you can do so here. It's super easy. So let's create a remarketing list. Let's say I have everything up and running, everything's looking good, everything's green, and I want to create my remarketing list. And let's say I want to create a product viewer. List. So we go Happy Hounds product view. Now we got to decide what type of users we want to add to the list. Now, obviously, visitors of a page, that actually seems quite obvious. But there's a few more options in here in order to allow you to chop and change what users you actually want to collect. So the second one is visitors of a page who did not visit another page. And what this I find is super useful for is if you want to collect a group of users who didn't convert. Now imagine those users who convert, they're a very special bunch to every advertiser. They have an enormous value. So you might often want to bid a little bit extra for them. So it's important to separate out those converters. And you can do that using this option. The other one is visitors of a page who also visited another page. If you notice in your analysis that visitors who visit 2, 3, or 4 specific pages tend to convert more or are of a certain value, this one is really, really useful. Visitors of a page during specific dates. Think of Christmas, think of any special promotions, think of Valentine's Day when your traffic might be a little bit higher, or the time leading up to Valentine's Day. You may want to retarget these users in a year's time. So think about that. Think a year ahead, think a year and a half ahead. What promotions are you running? What customers do you want back again and again? And this is a really great way to do that. And what I would suggest is if, for example, let's take Valentine's Day, you're running a month-long promotion, you choose the specific dates. If you want them to come back in a year, I'd highly recommend using a membership duration of up to 540 days, as you can see here. Okay. And the final one is visitors of a page with a specific tag. Now, this is a bit more of a technical implementation. This is for events on your web page. So let's say when someone applies for something, or car hire, or a car test, and the URL doesn't actually change, but they click submit when they submit the application for a test drive. You can actually install this tag as an event in that button and collect users who've actually clicked that button. But for this case, I'm going to keep it simple. We're going to look at visitors of a page, and we're going to look at our product viewers page. So I know that on my product viewer page, and the product is daycare, by the way, the part of the URL contains daycare. So to be exact, it's the end of the URL. So we go /daycare. Simple as that. Now we know that anyone who visits the home page won't be added to this list, but anyone who visits the daycare page will be added to this list. There's some more options in here. If you have a really strong referrer, a lot of people use Facebook here. If you want to click users who come specifically from Facebook, you can use this referrer URL. You also have some options around contains, equals, starts with, ends with, but for 99.9% of cases, contains is suitable. So that's done. I've got my my daycare list here. You can also estimate list size if you've got your tag installed already. And you can have membership duration of 1 to 540 days. So for this case, I'm going to choose 30 days. You'll notice a little checkbox here, pre-ticked. What this does is if you have your tag already installed on the website for over a month, it will actually backdate this list instantly. So you don't have to wait 30 days for it to populate. Within 24 hours, it will have all the users in there from the last 30 days. And of course, with the description, it's really important for someone who maybe you're creating the list, someone else is looking at the list, they don't really understand what it is, make sure you have a good description. So, product page, misspelled. Okay, and save. So cool, so you'll see in here, we've got my Happy Hounds product viewer page. And this update, and you'll see all the options. It's available for search, YouTube, display, unavailable for Gmail at the moment. And it should take about 24 hours for this list to actually gain users and that little updating signal to disappear. But now we've got everything set up, tag is working, list is created, let's add it to some campaigns, and let's start targeting those users. So we go back to our audience tab, really easy, click plus targeting, campaign, and this basically is a selection of, again, a new enough innovation. You're actually able to target lists on a campaign level. So what that means is you don't have to go to every single ad group and actually add this list. You can target, if you've got maybe 5 or 6 ad groups in a campaign, you can target those all at once. And it really makes managing your audiences, managing your campaigns a lot easier and saves an absolute ton of time. So targeting, obviously you want interest and remarketing. Select category. You'll see your 3 options in here, your similar, your customer match lists, and your remarketing lists. And there's my Happy Hounds, updating. Choose bid only for search, and save. And there you go, simple as that. Now in here, you've got a really important thing that I'll actually mention later, which is a bid adjustment. If I see later on that my product viewer page is performing really, really well. And I'm like, wow, I should actually pay a little bit extra for this just to get more traffic, because anyone that's been to this page tends to convert. So I can actually change a bid adjustment and automatically increase my max CPC by 5% whenever someone from this list comes along. Just one final thing to mention in the shared library is also our customer email. So this is customer match, okay? So it's a very similar process. You name it, describe it, set an expiration or not, and you can upload your customer email addresses or any CRM data you have here. Everything is hashed by Google. Everything is confidential. No one in Google will be able to see the customer emails. And as I mentioned, it's a really great way to have consistent messaging and get those users back. And I often recommend this tool to actually insurance companies, where you have a 12-month insurance cycle. You get your insurance, you forget about it for 11 months, and you come back again. A customer match list is a really great way to actually collect those users and target them again in 11 months' time. So if we can go back to the presentation. So we're going to talk a little bit about campaign structure. Now you know where everything is, how everything works, what products are actually available. But how do you actually structure your campaigns? And also, how do you bid on them? Really important topic. And realistically, I'll be speaking a lot about automation, and that's where bidding really comes into its own. So we have 3 smart bidding options. So when I refer to smart bidding, I'm talking about enhanced CPC, I'm talking about target CPA, and I'm talking about target ROAS, return on ad spend. And I'll be just going into a little bit of detail about each of these. So the first one, and the most basic one, this is like dipping your toe in the water of automation, dipping your toe in the water of smart bidding. And what this does is it adjusts your manual bids by up to 30% or by minus 100%, depending on whether it thinks that user is going to convert or not. Now, this is a really, really safe way of entering the world of smart bidding, okay? You're stepping away from manual and you're going automated, okay? So realistically, especially if you're using audience lists, I highly, highly, highly cannot recommend enhanced CPC enough. You really need to be stepping away from manual bidding. And the great thing about enhanced CPC is that you won't see this in the AdWords front end, but automatically it's actually dedicating about 50% of the traffic to enhanced CPC and about 50% to manual bidding, okay? So it's looking at the manual bidding automatically, seeing how it's performing, and comparing it to its own performance, okay? If it sees that it's performing well, it ups that to 50, 60, 70%, and your campaigns will flourish and they'll continue to get more conversions. However, if it sees it's not performing well, maybe it's not getting the right signals, maybe it's not understanding what's going on, it actually reduces its impact on your bidding and lets manual bidding actually take more of a standpoint. So manual bidding might increase to 60, 70, 80%, okay? With target CPA, basically the goal of this is you set a target CPA of say €5, and AdWords aims to get as many conversions as possible for that target. Again, target CPA is constantly learning. So if it sees it's made a mistake, user clicks, doesn't convert, it will actually feed that back into the algorithm. So it's constantly learning. Likewise, if it gets it right again and again and again, it ties that back in. And it's constantly learning and constantly improving. So the trick is with target CPA and target ROAS, which I'll speak about in a moment, is really that needs consistency. I'd really recommend not to keep turning it off and on. It takes maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, really for it to come into its own, okay? And finally, target ROAS, our most advanced smart bidding option. And how this works is that it's no longer looking just at a cost per acquisition. It's looking at the value of the actual product that the user is looking at. So it treats a €1,000 handbag a lot differently than a 50 euro bracelet, okay? So it sees if this handbag, if this product is worth €1,000, it's going to bid a lot more for a user looking at that handbag than someone looking at that 50 euro bracelet. And it aims to give you the best possible ROI on your investment. So let's say you set your target ROAS to 200%. For every euro you spend in AdWords, it will try to get you back €2. Okay? So, again, a really powerful tool. Needs consistency because it's constantly learning, and it needs to understand all the signals that you're sending it, all the signals that the users are sending it. So, let's say you're now creating your campaign, okay? What lists do you create? Okay, so first of all, I'd say let's create some visit recency lists. We know that someone who's been to our website 7 days ago or 1 day ago is actually super valuable, super recent. It's totally obvious. We should create a list for them, bid a little bit more for them. Those 14 to 30 day guys, they still have a chance of converting. They might have converted somewhere else already, but we still should target them. Makes total sense. The next list is purchase value. So we say, okay, actually, those guys who are buying things for over €100, those guys who are putting items in the basket that are €100 or more, we should actually really target them as well. That makes total sense. It's obvious. So let's actually create 2 more lists, depending on the value of the purchase. And actually, we'll take a look how this works, and if it works really well, we'll create all kinds of purchase value lists. Also, handbags, jeans, shirts, actually, the product value of that is a lot different. And we also kind of want to send slightly different messaging to these users. So again, that makes total sense. Let's create 3 more lists. We're going well, we're nearly there. And product page, cart page, and purchase page. Obviously, we want to know what page a user has been to. Again, the value of that user, the value of a purchaser is a lot more than the value of a product page viewer. But actually, now we've got our 9, 10 lists, 11 lists. The thing is, because you're creating these lists and you want combinations of all these lists, you have to multiply them, not add them. So actually, we're ending up with 54 combinations. How's anyone going to manage that? It gets pretty intense, pretty fast. And you're going to be spending all day and night in the office, managing bids, managing your audiences, chopping and changing. The other thing is, because you've segmented them in such a way, it's likely that these lists will actually be quite small, so they mightn't even serve. Okay, so remember a quick point for search audiences: if that audience is less than 1,000 users, you can't target it; it won't work. So the key is automation, obviously, and part of automation is smart bidding. Okay, so actually smart bidding takes into account visit recency. It's a super powerful signal. A lot of advertisers I work with, a lot of Irish advertisers I work with as well, are adamant that they need visit recency. It's unnecessary. It adds time. It gives you more work. Use smart bidding. It will learn, it will improve, and it will give you really good return on investment. The other thing is, it also looks at product value. If you're using target CPA or target ROAS, your product value is there. Again, you can actually remove those lists. So we're down to 6. If you're using dynamic marketing on the display network, you can also remove this because it looks at what products are actually available and will show that product back to the user. So now we're down to 3. And there's some things, unfortunately, that Google can't automate. You need to tell it what page the client is the user is actually looking at. So you still need to tell it what product page it's at, what cart page they're looking at, and what purchase page they look at. But 3 ain't bad, and you're going to be saving a lot of time using automation. And as I mentioned, smart bidding is key, absolutely key to managing that data. You can remove the vast majority of those lists, and the vast majority of your work if you use smart bidding. Okay, so smart bidding takes into account hundreds, if not thousands, of signals every second. It can bid a billion times faster than any human can do. It's bidding in that moment of the auction. You try doing that. How do you do it? It's impossible. Smart bidding gives you that ability. It looks, for example, at that keyword. How is the keyword performing? It looks at the audience, looks at the device, location, even time of day. Okay? If your highest conversion rate is at midnight, it'll figure it out and it'll start bidding higher at midnight. Now, one other key to automation in search is a relatively new innovation called if functions. Now, those of you familiar with programming think, yeah, if functions, no problem. Those of us marketers who try to stay away from that kind of stuff are thinking, oh crap, I can't write if functions. But what it does is it really easily allows you to tailor your messages for your audiences, okay? So let's say, for example, this is your standard ad. This is your ad going to absolutely everyone. Fair enough. New visitor. Search for your keyword. The ad pops up. New shoes, free shipping on your first order. That actually could be quite effective because, yeah, I want free shipping on my first order. That's pretty cool. Returning visitors, we actually want something like this. So we want to come back for 30% off. It's not a bad deal. But in this case, you'll actually have to create separate campaigns or separate ad groups. And you'd also have to create a separate creative as well. But what if functions actually allows you to do is really easily, from one creative, actually vary your ad, okay? So this looks complicated. I couldn't write this. However, what it's doing is it's changing any part of the ad, any part of the creative, except the URL. Okay, the URL remains the same. So in this case, they've changed the subheader. And it's saying, come back for 30% if the audience called visitors searches for your keyword. Okay, so if the audience and visitors comes back, we want to say to them, come back for 30% off, free shipping on your. Well, that's actually incorrect, but it should be come back for 30% off. Yeah, it's actually it's turning off free shipping on your first order. See, I don't quite get it myself. However, if you go to the AdWords Help Center, there's actually some predefined if functions in there. Simply copy paste, go to change your creative, and paste it into your creative, either on the headline or any other part of the ad that isn't the URL. So yeah. Really recommend going to the AdWords Help Center and searching for if functions, okay? The best thing about it saves you a ton of time. I know that for a fact. Campaign structure. Okay. So now we know we've got our bidding set up, we've got our if functions in, we've got a good idea of what audiences we want to target, our tag is up and running. How do we actually structure our campaigns? Is there a best practice around this? Well, this is the kind of structure I would suggest, okay? And I'll talk you through it. So I showed you earlier the campaign level targeting. That's where I would begin, okay? And of course, don't forget, I'm talking about audiences a lot, but in search, the keyword is the absolute priority in search. Nothing trumps the keyword. It's an incredibly strong signal of intent, so it overarches over everything else, okay? Then under your campaign settings, you can add some lists. So under your campaign level account, you can actually then target some lists. So I've got in here customer match, all visitors, product visitors. Realistically, you can just actually stick all your lists into one campaign. So again, saving you a ton of time. But how do you differentiate those users? Number one, use if functions to change your ad depending on whether it's a product visitor or past converter. Number two, you use a bid adjustment. So you only use bid adjustments are overwritten by target CPA and target ROAS, okay? If you're using target CPA in the auction, or if you're using eCPC in the auction, the eCPC will apply that bid adjustment first and then its own calculation. So whether that calculation is plus 30%, plus 20%, minus 100%, it'll apply that after the bid adjustment has been released on the keyword. So Remember, target CPA, target ROAS, bid adjustment is irrelevant, but if you're using manual bidding or if you're using eCPC, think about your bid adjustments. Think about what your audiences are actually worth to you. Is that customer match list worth an extra 10%? Maybe it is. Is that all visitors list worth 5%? It might just be speculative. You could put 0 on it and just get the reporting on it. And that's another point I'd like to mention is that if you want to actually see how your audiences are performing, just add them to your campaign, add them to your ad group. It won't cost you anything, but you'll see performance. And maybe you'll get a really good grip on how those audiences are actually performing. And maybe then go ahead and bid more on your similar audience or bid more on your past converter. For the display side of things, your campaign is on top. The best practice for display is to have one audience per ad group. And the same logic applies eCPC or manual bidding. Have your bid adjustment. Target CPA, target ROAS, it actually takes over that bid adjustment. And it sees that, yeah, that category visitor audience is performing really well. I'm going to bid more automatically for anyone from that category visitor audience. Some things to remember. For display audience, one 30-day list for each funnel segment. So when I speak about a funnel segment, I'm talking about a homepage visitor, a category page visitor, a converter. That's a funnel segment, and you want to base your lists around that funnel and how people flow through your website. And a 30-day list is because we want to keep it relevant. Because in display, obviously, people are showing less intent. Like in search, we want to keep it relevant for that user. But equally, if you are targeting that user 360 days later, then it becomes relevant again. So you can have that 540-day list or that 360-day list and target when that year comes around. Use smart bidding. I may have mentioned that once or twice. Really important to use smart bidding to save you guys time and really maximize your return on investment. And of course, in display, use all ad formats. Really important. People often forget that. They think, oh, that ad looks ugly. Oh, that ad is not for me. Actually, there's dozens and dozens of different ad sizes on the Google Display Network. And if you remove even one ad size, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. When someone might be ready to convert, they visit The Guardian, for example, and you haven't chosen an ad format that will fit The Guardian, you're missing out. Particularly this comes up with text ads, and people are often removing text ads. But actually text ads make up a huge proportion. I believe it's around 33% of the display network. So it's really important to use text ads. For search audience, up to 540-day list length. Again, a lot of the advertisers I work around Europe are actually beginning to use this maximum list length more and more. And the reason for that is, in search, you have the intent. Okay, so you're not necessarily forcing an ad on someone. Someone is actively looking for something that you're offering. So if you have a 540-day list, you want to be there. You want to be in front of that. You want to be in front of that user. And also, if you're using target CPA, target ROAS, it will value that user. So it's automatically saying, oh, this guy came to my website a year ago, but actually, judging on his recent user behavior, he's got a really high likelihood of converting. As I mentioned, more than 1,000 users per list. If it's less than 1,000, it just won't serve. Simple as that. And test in large campaigns and then go for scale. So what I would say is, if you're only beginning to get into the world of audience, I'd say maybe start off with targeting your converters initially, and also your an all visitors list, just to get an idea of how many of those users are coming back to you on a daily basis, and you'll get that reporting. You don't need to pay anything for it. You'll just see how those users are actually behaving. And then once you're happy with how your audiences are working and where they're working, you can then scale out to all your other campaigns. So some things to avoid. Of course, over-segmentation, as I mentioned. Campaign overload. This can occur if you're not using automation again. And we have campaign constraints. So one of the main things here that people constrain on is language or maybe geo. But certainly language and I can't think of anything. Any others around that don't need to be constrained, because again, if someone's been to your website, it doesn't matter what language you're speaking. They know your brand. They've got a better chance of converting. Search audience over segmentation is a killer, and multiplying campaigns unnecessarily. Again, automation, if functions, smart bidding, even a well thought out campaign structure will allow you to avoid multiplying campaigns and allow you to avoid over segmentation when you're creating lists. And remember, with search, you've got that 1,000 user benchmark. So over segmentation is going to prevent your campaigns from serving. And oftentimes, especially with smaller advertisers, you'll see that they've got a really, really strong all visitor list, really, really strong product viewer list, but they're over segmenting, so they're just falling below that 1,000 user mark. So that concludes it for today. Thank you so much for listening. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you guys. So if you have any questions around audience or around this presentation, I think we can fire away. So we've got our microphone here. Yeah. Oh. Sorry.
Hello.
Hi.
I would like to know in remarketing lists if it's possible to remarketing people that doesn't have Gmail account.
So you're asking if it's possible to remarket to someone who doesn't have a Gmail account?
Yes.
So I might expand that to a Google account in general. That's 100% possible. As long as, 100% possible. So someone visits your website, doesn't matter if they're logged in. Really simply, if they visit your website, the cookie fires, that cookie is added to the browser. Doesn't matter what the browser is, Chrome, Firefox, etc. As long as they've been to your website, it's totally possible to remarket to them. Similarly, if you're talking about similar audiences or in-market audiences, again, they don't need a Google or Gmail account. You can actually target those users. Absolutely no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? Try not to kill the next person. Down here. Watch out, cover your head. Oh, come on, guys, at least chuck it.
This is in relation to tracking. Would you have a preference for Google Tag Manager putting code manually on site?
100% Google Tag Manager. Sorry, the question was, would you rather use the remarketing tag or use Google Tag Manager? Now, Google Tag Manager is a way of easily managing all of your tags. So you basically install a little bit of code on your website again, and then you actually go to the Google Tag Manager UI, and you're able to stick in all your different tags and manage everything from that UI. So it's actually really cool. So you stick in the code once, and you never need to go back to your website again to change it. You can just use a UI to actually manage all your tags. So I would 100% recommend Google Tag Manager. So you can actually use any type of tag of Google Tag Manager. Any Google tag, Facebook, Adobe, any tag you can imagine, you can actually use it in Google Tag Manager. Now, the vast majority of tags are is in the UI. There's actually an automatic existing way of adding your tags, and you get all the different brands listed out. Even if that brand isn't there, you can create your own custom tag as well. Okay, so 100% saves a ton of time, and really it reduces the amount of coding errors that happen. It reduces the amount of red we see when we look at tag assistance. So yeah, really recommend it. Over here.
Oh, sorry.
How do you get the similar audience? Is that in Google AdWords or in general for everything?
So could you just repeat that?
How do we target similar audience? Is that in Google AdWords or in general different type of advertising?
Yeah, so the question is how do you retarget similar audience? Really simply, You create your remarketing list. So let's say you have your converter list. Again, a quick note is that a converter list often creates a really, really powerful similar audience. So what happens is you have your converter list already created. It's automatically generated, and the name will simply be similar to converter list. Okay, and it'll appear right underneath your existing remarketing tag. You then go into the standard targeting, like I showed you, with the red box where you click plus targeting, and you simply choose similar audience from a drop-down. And it's as simple as that. It works almost the exact same way as standard remarketing. Cool. Any other guys? No, I think that's it. Cool. Very good. Thank you so much for all your questions.